Barcelona have complete one of the three. There's two left. Welcome to the recap. Hey Manny, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, Juan. Had a rough weekend.
Tell us why you had a rough weekend.
It was a tough loss, man. We hung in there with y'all and we couldn't get it done.
What are your thoughts with the first half?
I feel Madrid was pretty weak in the first half. Barca really could have taken a strong like 2-0, 3-0 lead going into the halftime.
Do you think Madrid came in scared? They're like, hey, you know what? We're an inferior team in Barcelona, the better team, and we're just, trying to hang, not get embarrassed.
I don't think they were scared. I just feel they probably did think they were gonna lose this game. The past two Clásicos this season they haven't been close. So they're probably thinking, oh, we're about to have more of the same.
We go into the second half where the game changed quite a bit, where Madrid started playing, they started pressing, they started getting, let's not call it better luck, but they started getting better gameplay. And then they score two goals, they go up a one. What did you think at that point?
After like the 48th minute, I thought Madrid was playing pretty good. The press was good, the possession, they were holding onto the ball. But it just, in the final third, there was mistakes happening, players not finishing, not making the right pass, extra dribble, extra touch. It was just, they couldn't get it done.
Then Ferran ties it up to go 2-2, and then we go to extra times. I have celebrated this year so many victories, Barcelona victories, on my couch. And when they went up 2-1, I was like, what's going on? Like, what? And the first half, Barcelona should have punched them. They had them by the throat, and they let them live. A couple of mistakes happened, though. Then Madrid scores two goals. First of all, the wall on Mbappe's goal was bad. Chesney should have had a better wall, and it went to his side, so he should have blocked it. Even though it was on the post, he should have blocked it. And then the second goal, I think also Chesney should have came out. He's a very tall keeper, and it was the ball was in the six. He should have came out. But I was like, what's going on here? I wasn't thinking like, oh, it's over, because Barcelona, their mentality, their gameplay, it's like, okay, a comeback can happen at any time, and then Lamine, just gives Ferran Torres that perfect ball. Rudiger and Asensio kind of don't play the offsides trap. They let him, they gave him the space, and then Rudiger was like on no knees, and Cortao came out incorrectly. So Ferran scores that goal. Now we go into the extra times, and it felt like Barcelona wanted to win. It felt that Madrid wanted to go to penalties.
In the extra time, I'm not sure if they were exhausted. Madrid just didn't look like they wanted to be out there anymore. It looked like they just wanted to end the game. You saw the mistake by Modric and Brahim,
Whose fault
and
was it?
I'd say that's on Brahim after processing it, letting it sink in, and just going back and looking at it. Brahim did call for the ball, but you're taught at a young age, like man, like U3 soccer. When the ball's coming to you, you go towards it. You can't just wait on it.
Luka Modric's pass was a little soft, but it was also caused by a press from Barcelona. Because if there was no driver, no player pressing Luka, he would have been able to give him a better pass. But even though we were late in extra time, Barcelona was still pressing.
But Brahim wasn't calling for a through ball. There's no reason why he should be waiting for it or going on a run. He's calling it to his feet. So, go ahead and step up to the ball. You gave Kunde a huge head start to come and get it.
Right.
And
What you
he
think
just
about
put it
that
in the.
goal?
It was a good goal. I ain't gonna lie. It was a little banger.
Trust me, nobody was like, "Oh, Koundé's gonna win this game." Nobody, bro. Nobody. And even when we did our video of best 11 from the Liga, I'm like, yo, I'll put Valverde in the right back instead of Koundé. Which, I mean, if you think about it, Valverde probably would have taken that shot if he had that opportunity too. But nobody thought Koundé was gonna do that. Make that screamer, bro. That was a perfect hit ball to the left corner.
Yeah,
Or the
I've
right
been a
corner.
strong advocate for Kunde this year. I do think he's team of the year worthy.
Mhm.
And I did have him over any Real Madrid right back, just because Fed is not like an actual right back.
Right.
And Kunde has been top three for me this whole season.
Now we move into the league. Okay, Madrid's out, lost the Copa del Rey. Let's call it even lost the Supercopa, and then 4 points behind Barcelona, uh, on the league. What is realistically, can Madrid realistically fight for the league, or are they just emotionally done?
I think you can still pull it off, but it just depends on Barcelona. It's not even in our hands anymore.
How frustrating is that?
Being a team that's just had so much success recently, in the Champions League and La Liga, even like we'll always come away with either a Super Cup or, we don't really win the Copa del Rey much, but you expect to have at least one title a year. And, possibly ending the year with zero, it's just real bad.
Barcelona, I felt that the second half from the game of Copa del Rey literally was on E. The way that Barcelona plays, it takes a toll. It's beautiful ball, beautiful press, but it takes a toll. And I feel like the second half they're on E. Now Barcelona has a game against Inter uh, for the Champions League, and then after that they have a game against Valladolid. Even though they're already, regulated to second division, you're playing against Barcelona. You're gonna want to win regardless, or you're gonna want to show other teams that hey, I can play by me. I see it a big challenge for Barcelona to win the league, but I still have them as favorites. But I can see them maybe losing or tying a game, and now the league becomes more interesting. Only issue I have is Madrid mentally there.
Players are hungry. Bellingham was out there giving it everything he's got. Chouameni was having a really good game. You got Arda Güler, well, he's balling out of his mind now, but he needs minutes. There's Madrid players that do look like they want to win. It's just up to Ancelotti to finish the season, put them in the best position they can to succeed.
Talking about Ancelotti, it seems like he is going to be leaving. There was a report by the 433 sports outlet that Ancelotti is going to become the Brazil head coach, and then he's going to be leaving this year Madrid, which makes you pretty excited. But now, who is a realistic candidate? Is it going to be Xavi Alonso?
Yeah, I think the job is his for the taking if he wants it. It's not looking like Klopp is going to come out of retirement. Arteta is looking pretty good in Arsenal. And Xabi Alonso, he's played for the club. He knows what this club represents, and I think he's the right man for the job.
I was talking to some buddies over the weekend, and I told them like, "Hey, it seems like it's gonna be Xavi Alonso," and they're like, "That's funny," and I'm like, "Well, why?" He's like, "Look, Xavi Alonso's gonna walk into the dressing room. On the left side, you have Vinicius. On the right hand, you have a World Cup winner, Mbappe. Then you have Tuchmani, who won a World Cup. You have Rudiger, that's won Champions League. He's like, they're gonna be like, who's this guy? Why are you telling me what to do?"
All he's got to tell him is, "I ended Bayern's reign." That's all he's got to do.
Do you honestly think that these guys are going to listen? The second half against Barcelona on the Copa del Rey, they showed that they can play. So was it really Ancelotti's tactics this time, or was it just the players?
We were winning off of players just having moments of excellence, last minute winners, just somebody balling out of their mind. Vinicius was on a Ballon d'Or kind of
Mhm.
run. So, when things aren't going that way, you need tactics to make up for that, which Ancelotti was lacking in. And I think Xabi Alonso can bring that to the table.
It goes good for him. Saturday's game, I enjoyed that game more than the previous two games when we beat you guys like 4-0 and 5-2. I enjoyed the Copa del Rey the game more because it was more exciting. It was more thrilling. And if a new coach can bring in more and tactically make Madrid better, they should be able to challenge Barca for all titles.
It's gonna take Xabi Alonso to come in with some big cojones. You gotta
Mhm.
bench Rodrigo when he's having off games. You gotta bench Vinny if he's having bad games. Mbappe's not safe from it. Nobody's safe from being benched. You need to perform to be out there.
I honestly think that Rodrigo's going to get sold. You're going to have to play with the 4-4-2, in my opinion, unless Xabi Alonso can come and do some magic. But Mbappe is not a striker. He's a winger.
Yeah,
Even though he has a good amount of goals this year, which is impressive for playing out of position. Imagine what he can do when he's playing in his position.
for sure. It all depends on who they bring in, who leaves the club. Xabi Alonso's vision for the club is it's gonna depend on a lot of things, but change does need to happen.
Now, do you think Barca can drop points, or are they just going to be? They're pretty much clear on the title race.
But you've got to keep on performing during the league matches, and they also have to worry about the Champions League. You need to rotate players, or you're going to be exhausted. He's going to play a factor. So I think there is a chance for them to drop points, but it's just not looking good.
There is a possibility of dropping points, but the game on Saturday showed me that once you put in like Pau Victor, you put in Gavi, you put in the subs, they also add to the team. So I can see Fleek rotating heavily. the remaining games are going to be at home. So I can see him rotating heavily the league games, keeping a couple of starters, resting some of the starters to give us a fighting chance for both La Liga and the Champions League. I would assume that all bookmakers have Barcelona winning it, but it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be walk in the park. Not because they are not technically good. It's a lot of games and they've been running on E, and some players need to rest up to be able to perform at the top again.
Yeah, you want your Lamine Yamal, you want your Pedri, you want them all performing at, as best as they can.